All right, this is chapter 2, lesson 2.9, dealing with percents. Go ahead and put your name and let's get started. Okay, so our objectives in this lesson are to solve percent problems using proportions and also solve those percent problems using the percent equation. We'll go over how to do both ways. Okay, the thing that you guys need to know is when we are using proportions, okay, there is something that is super important that we will always remember, okay, and that is that percents are always expressed as the percentage over 100. Always 100, 100, 100. Always over 100. That is super duper important. Okay? Percentage always over 100. Okay. So you can represent A is P percent of B using the percent proportion shown below. In the proportion, B is the base and A is the part of the base. So B is going to be our denominator, that's the bottom number. That will be the whole portion, and A is just a part of it, okay? Then we're gonna set that equal to the percent over 100. Guys, the 100 will always be there, it will always be the same. Okay, and B cannot be equal to 0 because you can't have a part of 0. Okay, B is the whole base, it's the whole portion. Okay, B is whole portion. A is part of the portion. Okay, all right. So a percent proportion. What percent of 50 is 25? We already set up the proportion here. So it's asking what percent of 50 is 25. So our portion or our part is 25. This is going to be our A, and our whole is going to be 50. This is going to be our B. And then our percent always is going to be P over 100. Okay? So we set 25 over 50 equal to P over 100. This is the same as A over B equals P over 100. Solving this, so if we cross multiply here, okay, this turns into 25 times 100 equals 50 times P, okay? Then all we have to do is divide by 50, and we're going to get that P equals 25 times 100 is 2500 over 50. These zeros cancel. 250 divided by 5 is just 50 equals P. So P is 50%. All right. Okay. So what percent of 56 is 42? So again, we're going to use P over 100 because it's asking what percent is of 56. So this is our whole part, B. And it's asking what percent of 56 is 42. That's our A. Okay. So percent P over 100. B is our whole portion, and it's asking what percent of 56 is 42. Okay, so A is 42 over 56, and that's going to be equal to P over 100. Okay, so the whole portion is on the bottom. That's our B. Then we cross multiply with the P, and we take 42 times 100. This becomes 42. Times 100 equals 56 times P. Again, same thing. This is going to be 4200 equals 56P. We just divide by 56 to both sides. And I'm going to use a calculator. 4,200 divided by 56 is 75 equals P. So our percentage is 75%. Okay, you can represent A is P% of B using the percent equation as well. So shown below in the equation, A is the part of the base, B, okay? So A equals P% multiplied by B. So that means that A, which is the part of the whole, is equal to the percentage of A times the base, okay? So the percentage of B is equal to A. So any percent of B, a percentage of the whole, is going to be equal to the part. Okay? And we'll go over how to use this. Okay, so what percent of 50 is 25? Okay, so again, B is 50, that's the whole part. 25 is the part of the whole that we're trying to figure out the percentage of. So we set up our equation like this. Now all we do is we divide both sides by 50, divide both sides by 50, and we're going to end up with 25 divided by 50 is 0.5 equals, these 50 cancel, and it's P%, okay? And remember, percentages, okay? Before we were putting them over 100, right? So it was 50 over 100. Whenever we're left with a decimal, remember this percentage sign is going to move the decimal over to the right twice. So P is going to be equal to 50, all right? It's like multiplying by 100, so this is 50%. Okay, what percent of 40 is 2.5? What percent of 40 is 2.5? And let's use the percent equation, okay? So remember, the percent equation was, A equals P% times B. Okay, so let's identify what A and B are, because we're trying to find the percent. It says what percent. So B is 40, because it says the percent of 40 is 2.5, and that's our portion. A is our portion, okay? Now, you have to read these carefully. You cannot just assume that the smaller number will always be A and the larger number will always be B. That's a valid assumption for most of these problems, but they will try to trick you. They will put a larger number for A and a smaller number for B, okay? So what percent of 40 is 25? So we just plug these in. So if B is 40 and A is 2.5, we just plug in 2.5 equals P% times 40, okay? All right, now in order to get P by itself, we do have to divide by 40, so let's divide by 40 to both sides. These will cancel. And on that left side, we're going to get 25 divided by 40, or 2.5, sorry, divided by 40, which will give us 0.0625 equals P%. Remember, in order to get that percentage out of there, you have to move over the decimal twice. Think about the double zero, okay? Or the two circles on either side of the percentage sign. It means move over twice, okay? So this becomes 6.25%. That's how you use the percent equation, okay? Okay, so what percent of 40 is 2.5? I'm going to write in green up top. So remember, the of is going to be what? Multiplication. The is going to be equals. So 40 times what percent is going to be our P equals 2.5. So all we do here is we divide both sides by 40, divide by 40, and that's exactly what we did over here. We did 2.5 divided by 40, okay? All right, now let's try it with a word problem, okay? That's problem 3, finding a part. So a dress shirt that normally costs $38.50 is on sale for 30% off. What is the sale price of the shirt? okay? So the dress shirt that normally costs $38.50 is on sale for 30% off, okay? So whenever something is on sale or we're applying a percentage to that number, you always want to multiply that percentage by the original amount. So normally costs $38.50. We're going to take $38.50 and we're going to multiply it by 30%. Okay? Now, don't multiply by 30%. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to change this percentage into a decimal, okay? So it's going to be $38.50, and we're going to multiply it. We're going to get rid of the percentage and write it at 0.30. We move the decimal place over 2 spaces. Because remember, there is a decimal after the 0 in 30, okay? So we moved over the decimal 2 decimal places, so we got 0.030. And then from here, we're going to use our calculator. And multiplying these together, we should get that it is $11.55, okay? So that is how much the sale is. So that's off the original price. Now it's asking, what is the sales price of the shirt? Guys, be very careful for these problems, okay? It's not asking how much money you're saving. It's asking what the sale price of the shirt is. So you have to do $38.50, and you have to subtract $11.55, right? Because you're not paying $11.55 for the shirt. That's what the sale is. That's how much money you're saving on the shirt, okay? If you go to a store and it says that the sale is 30% off, you're not paying 30% of the item. You're actually paying 70% of the item, okay? So in order for you guys to figure out how much money you're going to be saving when you go to the store, you have to do these problems correctly, okay? So 38.50 minus 11.55. I'm going to use a calculator, and that will give us $26.95. So this is the sales price of the shirt, okay? We are going to do another problem, but guys, super important that you recognize what the question is asking for. If it asked, how much are you saving on the shirt? Then yes, you would put $11.55. But if it's asking for the sales price after the discount, you have to go back and subtract from the original price. Okay, finding a part. So a family sells a car to a dealership for 60% less than they paid for it. They paid $9,000 for the car. For what price did they sell the car? Okay, so remember, they sold it for 60% less than the original price, and they paid $9,000 for it originally. So what we have to do is we have to take 9,000 and multiply it by 60%, okay? Because it's 60% of the original price, okay? Now, 9,000, we're not going to multiply it by 60. What are we going to multiply it by? 0.60. Why? Because we moved the decimal place over 2 spaces. So it becomes 0.60. Now we can multiply, and what we're going to get is 9,000 times 0.6, $5,400. So they sold it for $5,400. Now, is that what they're asking for? Yes. What price did they sell the car for? $5,400. So, I'm sorry, that's not what they're asking for. So, sells a car for 60% less. So this is 60% less. This is the discount, okay? So we have to take 9,000 and subtract it by 5,400, okay? Because it says 60% less than they paid for it. If it said that they sell the car for 60% of what they paid for it, then that would be fine. But it's 60% less. So let's go ahead and subtract these, and we will end up getting 3,600 as our answer, okay? So $3,600 is what they sold the car for, okay? Remember this step. This step is super important to go back and to subtract what you got from the original price. Actually, okay. 125% of what number is 17.5? So again, we are finding a part. We are finding A, okay? So 125% of what number is 17.5? So whenever you guys are confused, okay, you don't really understand, what I want you to think about is of is going to represent multiplication, and is going to be an equal sign, okay? So 125% of is going to change into times. What number? We can just put any number. So you can have it be a variable. Let's make it P. Or in this case, if we're finding a part, let's make it A, equals 17.5, because the is the equal sign, okay? Now, all we have to do is solve this problem, okay? So this, remember, percentage, we have to move the decimal place over 2, so this becomes 1.25 times A equals 17.5. All we have to do is divide both sides by 1.25, divide by 1.25, and A is going to be equal to, I want to write, A is going to be equal to 17.5 divided by 1.25. 17.5 divided by 1.25 is 14. So 125% of 14 is 17.5. Okay? So I like setting it up like that. Of means multiplication, and is the equal sign. Let's do another problem like that. So on this slide, of, draw an arrow, that's going to be multiplication. Or actually, don't put an X because that's confusing. Multiply. And then is equals. Okay? All right. Simple interest formula. The simple interest formula is given below, where I is the interest, P is the principal, R is the annual interest rate written as a decimal, and T is the time in years. So I equals P times R times T. All right, so these are really easy. All you're doing is you are plugging the values that the problem gives for the different values, and you're solving, okay? So if you invest $50 at a simple interest rate of 3.5% per year for 3 years, the interest you earn is I equals 50 times 0.035 times 3, which will give you $5.25, okay? Now, sometimes they will ask you, how much do you have in total? Okay, so that you have to factor in your original investment, okay? So your original investment was 50, and all you do is add the interest. So you add the 5.25, okay? This will give you $55.25. Okay? All right, let's do another problem. So simple interest. Whenever you see interest anywhere in your problem, know that the interest equals principal times rate times time. I equals PRT, okay? So now let's go ahead and we deposited $840 in a savings account. that earns a simple interest rate of 4.5% per year. You want to keep the money in the account for 4 years. How much interest will you earn? Check your answer for reasonableness, okay? So, $840. That is our principal, okay? Because that's what we're depositing. It's always going to be a dollar amount. 4.5%, that is going to be our rate, okay? It's the amount of interest that you earn. It's the rate, okay? And then lastly, our 4 years is our time, okay? It's always going to be in years. If it's not, you have to change it into years. So if it says 12 months, don't put 12 for the time, put 1 year, okay? So put 1. All right. So now all we have to do is we have to write interest equals principal times rate times time. So that's 840 times the rate. Remember, 4.5 is not what we put in. We put in 0.045. Why? Because 4.5% changes into 0.045 because you move the decimal place over 2 spaces. Okay? And then we multiply by 4 years. When we multiply all 3 of those numbers together, let's see what we get. We should get 840 times 0.045 times 4 gives us $151.20. Okay? Check for reasonableness. Well, when you're checking for reasonableness, remember, interest is not going to be that great of a value. So for $840 in 4 years to make $151 on it, that's not that significant, okay? It shouldn't be, okay? Interest is like, it's not designed to make you that much money, okay? It's designed to like just pressure you or to reward you for investing your money properly, okay? But it's not supposed to be like this huge lofty number unless you're investing for a long time. So let's say you invested for 50 years, then yes, the amount that you're going to get is a lot more, okay? All right, simple interest formula. So you deposited $125, and as I read through these problems, I always go ahead and highlight, or I box in or highlight whenever I see a number into a savings account that earns a simple interest rate of 1.75% per year. You earned a total of $8.75 in interest. For how long was your money in the account? So now they're not asking for the interest, they're asking for the time. Remember, I equals PRT. P times R times T. So let's go ahead and fill it in. 125 is our original principal. That's how much we invested or deposited. Our rate is the percentage, and then now $8.75, that's our interest, okay? You earned a total of $8.75 in interest. So now that's our I. So let's plug into our equation what we know. We know that 8.75 equals, now we have P, which is 125, times the rate, which is 1.75%. Converting that to a decimal is 0.0175. And then time, which we don't know. Okay? Now we know how to solve this problem. So 8.75 equals 125 multiplied by 0.0175 will give us, let's see, 125 times 0.0175 is 2.1875 times the time. All we have to do is divide both sides by that decimal. 2.1875, 2.1875. These will cancel. We're going to be left with T equals 8.75 divided by 2.1875. 1875. 4 years. Okay? All right, check yourself before you wreck yourself, okay? For these, okay, remember, we're going to use the method that I talked about secondly, okay? So what percent, that's going to be P of, remember, is going to be multiplication. 70 is going to be equals 21. We have our equation right here. P times 70 equals 21. All we have to do is divide by 70 to both sides. And we're going to get P equals 21 divided by 70, which is 21 divided by 70, 0.3. In order to change that into a percentage, you have to multiply by 100 or move the decimal place over twice. So we get 30%. All right, let's try it again. So percent, or you guys can try number 2 on your own. Let's do number 3. So what is going to be equals 35% of is going to be multiplication, 80. And then what can be anything? So let's put A here. So A equals 35% of 80, which is 35% times 80. So A is going to be equal. Remember, 35% has to be converted to a decimal. So this will be 0.35 times 80. Oops. Okay, so this becomes A equals, and let's check it out. Let's check it out. 0.35 times 80, which is 28. Okay, 75% of is going to be multiplication. What number will be our variable? So let's make that, I don't know, B. Is going to be equals 36. 75% times B equals 36. That would be 0.75. B equals 36. Divide both sides by 0.75. Divide by 0.75. And we get B equals 36 divided by 0.75, which is, oops, 36 divided by 0.75, 48. Okay, how much interest will you earn by investing $1,200 at a simple interest rate of 22.5% per year for 6 years? 1,200 interest equals, this is our principal, this is our rate, and this is the time. Okay, so we do 1,200 times 0.025 times 6. This will give us, let's see, 1,200 times 0.025 times 6, $180 in interest. 48% for B. 3 was 28. Number 1 was 30. If we were right, it's about 47. That's good. That one matches. 3%. That one's good. And number 5 was 1. And let's 80. Awesome. All right, so complete this problem complete this exit ticket before you go. And it wants P% is equivalent to a fraction with a numerator of P and a denominator of blank. And I stressed this in the beginning of the lesson. The denominator is always going to be 100. P over 100. Always 100. Okay? Here's your homework. Good luck.